Hello everyone, welcome to CG Byte. In this session, we are going to break down my car scene which I showed you in the previous video. So that was the scene and this is the file of that scene. So I am going to now break down everything about. So this is the main file, everything is here. So you can see. Okay, let me turn off the smoke data. Here it is, and I am just disabling the collection. So now this will run smooth. Okay, first of all I am going to disable everything in the scene and then we will start one by one. Okay, now this is the surface. So this is my camera angle, you can see that this is the surface, base surface on which I established everything. And first of all, main thing is the texture of ground. So you can see this is the main texture for this ground. So if I move to render view, you can see this is not a single texture, this is a mixture of 4 or 5 textures. So if I enable one by one, as you can see, this is the one texture with the sand of desert, and this is another texture with some reddish sand, and then this is another texture with some dry sand from desert, and this is another sand texture. I created 4 to make some variations, because if I used only one texture like this, then it will look quite boring and there will no variations in the texture. So I mixed up all this. This is not like I know from the start that these textures will work. I tweak many textures and then deleted that, then again created another one, then deleted that. So finally I come up with this concept. So if I plug this, then you can see this is the, I think, final texture of the scene of a scene. Now I'm going to solid view. Then now the turn is to create some stones and surface detailing. So for that I choose the geometry node instead of particle system, because we have much more freedom than particle system. So you can see this is the very simple setup for the everything which I created. So if I enable this, you can see everything is in geometry nodes. So let's talk for geometry node one by one. So this is the bushes here. These are the bushes, and these are the stones, and then another one. I didn't use one stone, like I used 2 or 3 collections, I think. These are big stones and these are small stones, and these are grasses. And at the end I used these displacement maps for creating some roughness, unevenness in surface. Like this is the Voronoi texture, noise texture, I created that all. And everything is this is all what I created in geometry node. You can see this is the result. I have big stones and then small stones here, some bushes, and then the height of ground and unevenness, displacement in ground. Now it's time to create some mountains. So I used only where the camera is looking and not everywhere. So these are too much heavy mountains, so make sure to spread them or place them wisely. If you place everywhere, then it will damage your file, or maybe file will not work in your PC. So this is the HDRI. I used image on this sphere here. So if I hide this, you can see that was my previous HDRI, which I am using for lighting. But for sky, I use this desert HDRI, and I enabled this back face culling. So I can easily see what's going inside this sphere. So this is my HDRI setup and mountain setup. Then here we have skull. So for skull, if I am just disabling my geometry nodes, so that easy to run the file. So this is the skull I downloaded from Sketchfab, and I created this Centipeta, and then rigged it and animated this inside this. This is in another file, this is linked one. So if I jump into edit skull impact, so this is the original file for this, because I don't want to that anything changed in that file, or by mistake I change something and the file will destroy it. So this is the animation I created. This is very simple animation, but it took too much time to figure out how to move this Centipede on the spline. So this is all drive by spline, and this is all about this file. Let's jump back into the original file here. So this is the skull, and I am going to turn off this. Then stones. Okay, these stones are for geometry nodes, and then these bushes are also for geometry nodes. And let's talk about the car animation here. So here it is, and also enable. So car is animating on this spline, and this is very simple animation like this one. I created animation on this, like jumping and weight shifting. So this is the small things, but make your scene looks good. You can see so then I added some particle systems on the tires, so that this must interact with the ground. So for that interaction I just created these planes and emit some particles from this. So as it first these are disabled, and then as it is going to hit the ground, the particles started emitting, and that's all. So for colliding system, so to interact with the ground, I created this collider here. So if I turned on the colliding for the surface, original surface, that will be too much heavy and make the file too slow. Then I created a low poly version of the surface, and then put the collider on that. So this is all for the animation of car animation, and here I have to end the animation because I don't want to make this too long. So I added this mountain at the end, so the car will disappear behind that rock mountain. And if I enable the geometry node, you can see the proper scene here where it is. Okay, so you can see this is all driven by geometry nodes. So I have to first create ground with geometry nodes, then did animation for the car, because I don't know where to the displacement, how displacement work, I didn't know that. So after the displacement is final, then I animated the car, and then according to the spline I did everything like this. And now disable this. Okay, then the main thing which take 4 or 5 days to finalize is the smoke. You didn't know the result without baking, so you have to bake again and again. And I use some turbulence to create random effect on the floor. First I dropped the idea to create smoke. I'm just leaving this like this, but then after the rendering without smoke, it will look very weird. So while the car is on the sand, we have to create smoke or sand effects, that is must. So then I decided to create that, which cost me 4 or 5 days, but that was a very good idea. So now if you look at the render, you can see the result, and there is huge difference without and with a smoke. So these little small things create a great impact of your project. So that's all. This is all I created for this car animation. And after that, okay, that's just disable this smoke. This is too much heavy. So if I enabled everything again and just enabled the geometry nodes, you can see this is the final result here. So for rendering I used cycle, and you can see this was the final render. This is the final render for this. So then in compositing I just these are just base stage nodes, and this just simple I used denoiser because I want to color correct and all compositing work in After Effects and DaVinci. So then I just rendered this all and then jump into DaVinci. So here we are in DaVinci Resolve. So this is the color correction tab. So this is the rendered I get from a Blender, and this is after all color correction. You can see the difference. So if I play this, you can check out the difference between the raw footage and after editing footage. This is before and this is after. So this is my node setup. First of all, I think shift, yeah, this is base color, and then this is the color sand color correction, and then I isolated the red color because this node creating a pink effect on car, so I have to isolate the car from the scene and then recolor that and then smooth that, and after combining I got this result, which I think looks good. So this is all I did in DaVinci Resolve. Then I jump into After Effects. So here is the After Effects project. This is the final look of the After Effects project, and then I added the video from DaVinci Resolve and then create this bar in this, and very basic stuff in After Effects. Then I just did some this vintage effect, created this vintage effect on the file. You can see in the main file, you can see I put my logo on here. Prime Pixel is my company here, a 3D company. So this is all done in After Effects, and also I did some music here. So if I go to this, so all music is done in After Effects. So I put get this music from YouTube and some car ads. I took 3 or 4 ads and all took all music, particular time music from every ad, and then combined that in After Effects. So this is all for this desert scene. In the next scene I am going to do the breakdown for my this desert scene, forest scene, how I created this water effect and all forest animated trees and grass, everything. If you also want to watch this tutorial, consider must subscribe and enable bell icon so you can easily get the notification when I put this on YouTube. So make sure to consider subscribe, and that's all for this. So see you in the next session. Thank you very much.